3 most important exercises to stay away from major knee injuries such as ACL tears, knee pain in general. Patella tendon pain is a big one as well. If you're a footballer, coming from 2 footballers who struggle with chronic knee pain for years, meniscus, cartilage damage, split his kneecap in half at 16. Personally, I had patella tendon degeneration for multiple years, over 7 years in total. So we want to give you the 3 most efficient exercises that you can start implementing from today.
And if you don't know who we are, I'm Bulletproof Baller. That's Dim Fit Ability. We grow to respectively 50,000 and 80,000 followers on Instagram over the last year. And our mission now is to make ballers bulletproof again.
Let's get it.
First exercise is a very, very big one because we know how big ACL tears are in football. It's probably the most common injury, and it's the one that people don't really make it back from. And if you look at the position that we are in constantly in football, it's this step up angle that we're talking about. We're talking about the reverse step up is the first exercise. And we're in this position 24/7 in football. We're decelerating, and that's where most knee injuries happen, is because we can't decelerate as much as we can accelerate. So if we get super, super strong in this exact position where the ACL, the patella tendon are under the most force, and it's actually developing the connective tissue inside the knee and not just the muscles around the knee, it's going to develop the VMO, super, super important for knee health as well, but it's going to actually develop that connective tissue inside the knee.
100% directly correlates to your knee health, right, with football. We see a lot of people that have knee injuries. You try and do this exercise, you will feel how weak your knee actually is, right? Even though you might have strong muscles around the knee, this one really tests the knee itself and will challenge the knee. So it is an exercise that you want to build up over time, right? But the good thing with all of the exercises that we're going to show you today is that you can regress it and start at your pain-free level, so that no matter where you're at right now with your knee, whether you just want to prevent injuries in the future, whether you've just come off a major knee injury and you're slowly recovering, you can start at your pain-free level and then over time get to elite standards like these, right? Where we have 110 kg on our back doing these step-ups, getting into those positions. And if you're going to be able to handle something like this, then your knee is also much, much more likely to handle the sport, right?
To start this exercise, you want to go to the level you can handle. Get some stable bumper plates on the floor. Stand on that. You want to lower the non-working leg down to its heel on the floor while keeping that torso vertical and pushing the knee over the toe. In the bottom position, you then want to pause with the heel on the ground with all the tension on the working leg, none on that non-working leg. Pause there for a couple of seconds. That's going to directly engage the VMO a little bit more, and then press up.
And obviously, as we said, you want to start at your pain-free level. So if you can't even handle 2 inches of elevation, start at flat ground, get minimal knee bend. Over time, you want to increase height, and then over time, start adding weight, right? And that really allows you to think long-term and also know that if you keep getting better at this exercise, you keep getting more gains for your knee, and you can literally continue this for life, right? We've been doing this for years, and that's the goal for you as well. You want to have longevity, and that's why I think once you've mastered this exercise and you get stronger, you feel that strength starting to build up in your knee, we then want to get further.
This exercise completely transformed my knee health. I couldn't get into a deep squat. I couldn't do the other stuff that was extreme, but the step up was one exercise that I could really start with and build up. And that really transformed my knee health. Charles Poliquin, who was the greatest strength coach of all time, the most decorated, used this direct exercise with a slant board to be able to rehab Olympic athletes' knees and called it the $1 million knee exercise because it made them millions of dollars.
Yeah, and imagine, you know, the 20% of footballers that retire because of knee injuries, how much longer their career could be or how much better their career could have been. It's probably also going to be $1 million knee exercise if the footballer starts to really adapt it, right, and get really strong there.
Yeah.
Now that we've built up that strength in a shorter range of motion where you can really start, you know, building up that sport-specific position, we want to think about what the knee is actually doing just in general in life, right? And really go back to the roots. If you look at a baby, it is sitting in a deep knee bend hours daily, right? Whether that's in a deep squat, kneeling on the floor. So we know our knees are meant to bend. What a lot of footballers do is that they think, okay, you know, I need to get faster at running, get faster at, you know, jumping, and all these positions that you actually use in football, they're not going to be in a deep knee bend. So a lot of people just simply don't even think about it, don't even consider it. And others, on the other hand, think, okay, it's an actually dangerous position for you, right? Because you're going into more pressure, you're going loads knees over toes. And for a lot of people like us as well, that were struggling with knee pain, it wasn't a position that we could just get into like this, right? So again, this exercise, the good thing, the great thing is that allowed us to start progressing is that you can start at your pain-free level, right? And that's the key here. We want to be able to get into that deep knee bend because if we look into the benefit of the deep knee bending, it's infinite. There's so many benefits to deep knee bending. The biggest one for us obviously is to keep the knee healthy, right? The longevity, it's lubricating the knee joint. There's studies showing that deep knee bends actually strengthen, protect the lower extremities. They're actually not dangerous if you progress them over time. So it is key to find your pain-free level and progress over time there. Get all of these benefits essentially, right? And the ATG split squat is just an amazing exercise to be able to do that.
So this exercise has many different starting points to many different people. We would recommend starting at 12-inch elevation, just so that that front knee can get the full knee bend and the back leg can get the full hip mobility it needs to be able to get down into that position. Just like the last exercise, because we are focusing on the front of the knee, the quads, we do want to keep the torso vertical. We then want to lower into the fullest knee bend we can get, with the goal being hamstrings to completely cover the calf, and the ankle can lift up at the bottom a little bit if we do need that extra range, and then to push back up through the quad. Once you are feeling comfortable at 12 inches, you have two options. Some people might need to start adding load. Some people might be able to lower the height. If the hip mobility is absolutely fine and you're rocking, I would start to lower the height. If the hip mobility is a bit of an issue with this exercise, I would continue at the current height until you can get that full range on both the front knee and the back hip flexor. As you see in my journey, I went from elevated with chronic pain to being able to hit elite standards like these, and it's completely transformed not just my knee health, but as Kadim's going to explain, my ankle mobility, my hip mobility, my glute power, my back toe flexibility.
Yeah, as we take a closer look into this exercise, you're going to notice that this is a unilateral exercise, right? So we have two different effects on both legs. Let's look at the back leg first, where we have the toe pushed into the ground, heel slightly pointing outwards, really making sure we try and keep that back leg as straight as possible by squeezing the glute as we push the other knee forward, is going to make sure we're going to get a good stretch through that front hip flexor of that back leg. So that's one benefit, right? Really getting those tight hip flexors that a lot of footballers struggle with to open up through loading it through a lengthened position, which allowed us to make much better gains than just, you know, passively doing the quad stretch after training sessions for like 15 seconds, right? So that's an amazing benefit there, as well as the big toe that's being pushed into the ground, getting some extra mobility. If we look at the front leg now, obviously we're going into that full deep knee bend that I was talking about. That is extremely beneficial. But in order for us to get there, we need our ankles to be allowing us to get there, right? Which is the ankle mobility, the dorsiflexion that we need. Okay, so as you push that knee forward, your ankle has to dorsiflex and you will feel that stretch through the back of your ankle if your ankle is a big restriction. And that's why Liam said you can, if your main focus is the knee, lift up your ankle to take that away and really focus on the knee. But if your ankle, you know your ankle, you had past ankle sprains like I did, then you're gonna wanna focus on the variation of the ATG split squat where you keep the heel on the floor or on the elevation and really focus on getting that stretch through the back of your ankle there, through the calf, and really working on that ankle mobility at the same time. So you see, there's countless benefits to this exercise. Glute strengthening as well. If you just look at the sprinting positions, boom, that's exactly the position we get into when sprinting. A little bit exaggerated, but that's what's gonna allow us to have that freedom and that strength if we don't even have to get into the full range when sprinting.
And that's why it is our #1 plateau buster when it does come to pain and injury, but also when it comes to athleticism as well. And this exercise paired with the next exercise we're going to make, you're going to make a bunch of speed gains, not just like the pain side of stuff, the injury resilience, but on the athleticism side as well. So that third exercise that we are now going into is the Nordic curl. You might have seen this all over social media recently. It has got a lot of hype and there's a reason for it. This exercise has completely transformed my hamstrings, completely transformed my knee health, completely transformed my injury bulletproofing. It's really the GOAT.
Yeah,
it's really the GOAT.
I love it. I freaking love this exercise, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if you just look at what we did with the Patrick step up, it's that exact knee angle, right? That 30-degree knee angle roundabout where most ACL tears happen, where we find ourselves most during the sport we play, okay? So now if we go at the Nordic and we look at where the Nordic is the hardest, it is when we go towards that 30-degree knee angle. So it is when we go towards that prone position where most ACL tears happen, while decelerating. And when we're doing a Nordic, we're decelerating, we're slowing on the way down. And I think this is where so many athletes are leaving gains on the table.
100%.
Right?
Eccentric hamstring strength. We know that all the studies show that the better you are with eccentric hamstring strength, the more protected you're going to be when decelerating. And that's where most ACL tears happen. The better you get at Nordic hamstring curls, the more stable your knee is going to be, the more healthy it's going to be, and the faster you are going to be as well, because you can control your own body weight for reps once you get to elite standards like us with your hamstrings, which are one of the prime movers in acceleration, in deceleration, in sprinting. Hamstrings are so crucial for all of these movements.
So again, for the Nordic, you might have to get creative, right? I had to get creative in the basement. When I first started this exercise, I wasn't able to even go like 1 second without then dropping. So big encouragement here is to really stay consistent. And for that to happen, you need to find some sort of entry point again, right? It might feel like, okay, it's impossible to start with, your hamstrings are blowing out or whatever. It's totally okay, right? There's different ways to regress this exercise. First and most efficient, in our opinion, is just to fight down the eccentric as much as you can, really trying to make it as comfortable as you can by getting a lot of knee padding, making sure you have something that actually holds your feet down, maybe even getting someone to hold your feet down if necessary. We can blend in a couple different options that you could start with, but the main thing is really get that setup going, try and hold as long as possible, even if you're just holding at the top, bending at your knees and then reaching forwards. That's already going to help you to create some tension and get your hamstrings to adapt that. Another option that you have is as well, if you have a gym, start building hamstring strength in other ways through hamstring curls. Okay, so that when you go into Nordics, you already have some hamstring strength, because a lot of footballers simply haven't trained their hamstrings at all. So that's how you start. And then over time, you want to make sure you get your form more straight, right? Because we really want to make it measurable. How do we make it measurable? Keep your hips extended, torso upright again, lower for at least 5 seconds if you can, and then really go from there. Get these quality reps in. That's the most important things, right? And then make sure, okay, from session to session, this can be quite intense on the connective tissue in the back of your knee first. So make sure you recover well until the next session. And that's how you can really stack up gains from week to week. And then in a year's time, you're going to look back and feel like, wow, that's where I started. That's where I'm at now. It's going to feel amazing.
We would recommend doing this just once a week to start with, because it is going to be intense on those hamstrings. If you do want to do some more work on the hamstrings, you can definitely do some hamstring curls on the second day of the week. So maybe, depending on how much you are playing football, if you're doing a leg day on, let's say, a Monday, you can hit the Nordic curls there, start with 1 or 2 sets of just the eccentrics of 5 reps, and then build that up over time to three sets of 5, and then eventually to concentrics over time. And then say on the Thursday or the Friday, if you're doing a second leg session, then you can hit the lying hamstring curl or the seated hamstring curl, whatever your gym does have. It's that knee flexion that's super important. Charles Poliquin literally called knee flexion the second ACL. So if we want to avoid knee injuries, if we want to get faster, more explosive, we do need to train the hamstrings through both hip extensors, but also knee flexors, and that's why we are highlighting this.
Absolutely. And there's more benefits to just, bulletproofing the knee, as Liam touched on, the speed, the kicking power, and that's a topic for a separate video as well, where you can go more into detail there. But the Nordic is really like, it has to be there, right? Especially if you look at, okay, many footballers, they do squats, they get their quads strong, and we really want to have your body in balance. Okay, so the Nordic is just a simple way that doesn't need a lot of equipment for you to really train your hamstrings and build your body in balance. Build that balance around your knee, that protection 360 around your knee. So Nordic curls, again, is a staple. And 100%. Over time, you want to get to elite standards. Fascia Nordics, if you can, right? It's going to be a whole different game. But again, if you look at it, you take away the pads, right? So you have less support now. You have to hold on with your feet much more even. So you have to work even harder from the feet. Like, that's going to be the exact position that you end up in when sprinting. That's going to be the exact position, because every time you take a step, the foot is the first thing making contact with the floor. So you want to get your body to really work together with your feet. If you hit those fascia Nordics over time, it's going to be an amazing time for your posterior chain, really, not just the hamstrings.
We hope this helps. We want to make Ballers bulletproof again, so we're putting out loads of resources. We have a free workshop. We can work with people one-on-one. There's a bunch of links in the description down below for all of those resources.
Let's get it. See you in the next video.